Hey friends, this is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead. You're in the kitchen with me again. It's been very cold and we got some snow overnight, so I'm going to be baking. Because when it's a snowy day, I like to bake. So today, I'm going to show you how to make Skillet Almond Shortbread. It's one of Jason's absolute favorites. Who am I kidding? It's one of both of our favorites. So I can't wait to show you how easy this is. It's as easy as falling off a log. And please excuse the sound of my washer. You're probably going to hear the heat, the washer, all of that stuff. This is a real working homestead. To start out, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And you want to get a 10-inch cast iron skillet. You can do this in another type skillet, but cast iron really works the best. For the best texture, cast iron really works the best. And I've lined that with parchment paper. You can do it with foil, or you can do it with parchment paper. I've done both. I think it turns out better. I think the texture and the crust is so much better if you do parchment. And I have sprayed that with cooking spray. I know the cooking spray may look a little funny to some of you. This is coconut oil spray. That's my choice in cooking spray. And it kind of re-solidifies. But it works magically. So now that that's out of the way, let's get started on the mixing. Okay, now in this bowl, we have 1.5 cups of sugar. And to that we are adding 1.5 sticks, which is about 3/4 of a cup of melted unsalted butter. This has been melted and cooled down some because you don't want it to be really hot, because for one thing it will melt your sugar a lot, and when you add the eggs it may curdle the eggs, and it also will tend to make your shortbread greasy, and you don't want that. So we're going to pour all of that in. It's been melted and cooled, and as you can see it's even started to slightly want to solidify a little, but it's not. So now we are going to, I'm using my half moon whisk. If you don't have one of these, I'll leave a link in the description below to one. If you don't have one, you don't know how bad you need one until you actually have it. I never knew that it was something I needed, and a sweet, wonderful viewer sent it to me, and I don't know how I ever lived without it. I actually want about 5 more of them because when this one's dirty, I'm like, oh no, it's dirty, what am I going to do without it? So you want to mix that really good until your sugar is mixed in really well with your melted butter. And now to that, we are going to add 2 large eggs. Now I'm going to add them one at a time, if it will allow me to. I'm not sure it will allow me to. Yeah, I did pretty good. I did pretty good just adding one. Now you want to add them in one at a time. Mix them well between each one, because you have no flour in here yet, so you don't have to worry about developing gluten. Now we'll add our second. You will notice that I usually have my eggs cracked separately. I always do that. These are farm fresh eggs, so I'm not as concerned about them possibly being bad. It's more so I don't actually get shale in there. If by slight chance I do run across a bad egg, you really don't want that in your baked goods, because then you have to dump everything. So it's better to crack them in a separate bowl. Now I'm going to switch this up and move to a silicone spatula. These are the best silicone spatulas in the world. They are so much better than anything you'll buy anywhere. It's Dioro. I will leave a link in the description below to those as well. They are amazing. They are the best silicone spatulas you will ever use. Now to this, I know some of you are not big almond extract fans. If you've been with us for a while, you know. Me and Jason both are almond extract freaks. We love the taste of almond extract. And I am an almond freak. I love almonds. I eat almonds every day of my life pretty much. I love almonds. So if you don't like almond extract, you can do vanilla in here, but it's not going to taste near the same. I will caution you of that. It's not going to taste near as good. But you can do vanilla. If you just can't stand almond extract, go ahead and do vanilla. But we're going to add 1 teaspoon And you will notice that I am actually measuring. When it comes to almond extract, I actually do measure because it is extremely strong and can overpower this delicate shortbread in a heartbeat. And then it's not going to be good if it's overpowered with almond extract. So you don't want to overpower it with the almond extract. You just want a good flavor. And all that smell. The minute you add that almond extract, the smell is just so divine. For anybody like me who loves almond extract, you know what I'm talking about. So now, get that all mixed up. Now for our dry ingredients. Now on this piece of wax paper, you guys know that I measure my dry ingredients onto wax paper. That way I can use the wax paper as a funnel to funnel the dry ingredients into my wet ingredients. On this piece of wax paper, we have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We have a half a teaspoon of salt. And we have 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I know that sounds a little strange, but cornstarch is going to add a very great crumb to this. It's going to have a luxurious crumb because of that cornstarch. Cornstarch, when you add it to baked goods, it makes the crumbs so much more melt in your mouth. And so much softer and just melt in your mouth and delicious. So I never shy away from adding a little cornstarch to my baked goods. Now, for those of you who poo-poo cornstarch and say it's all GMO, no, you can buy non-GMO cornstarch. This is Bob's Red Mill. It's non-GMO. You can buy non-GMO cornstarch. So now I'm going to raise my wax paper, throw all of that in. Make sure you get it kind of mixed around good. Now we are going to funnel this into our wet ingredients. I'm going to do this in about 3 parts. And I'm going to mix lightly between each one. I wouldn't really recommend a hand mixer for this. You're just wasting a hand mixer or stand mixer for this because you don't really need it. You really just need to stir it. It's not a hard thing to mix up. It's not a hard thing to stir up. You just really go at it by hand. Now, once you see that it's all in, add the next third. And now we will add our last third of our flour mixture. And I will tell you, this is one of those desserts that are perfect when you're just looking for a quick, easy dessert that is going to hit that sweet tooth and going to be so satisfying because it is so satisfying and so delicious. If you would like, I can show you another version of this that I've been dreaming up in my head. I've never made it, but I've been dreaming it up in my head. Please excuse the sound of my heat. It's pretty cold outside. And my kitchen is right next to my laundry room where my furnace is at. Okay, now your batter's all done. And see, it's kind of sticky. If you're going by the feel of it, it's kind of sticky. It's kind of almost feels like a thick cake batter, almost. Maybe a sticky cookie batter, maybe. So now we are going to bring our cast iron skillet back over here. And we're going to put all of our batter. Well, it's kind of between a batter and a dough, really. We're going to put it all into our parchment lined skillet. Now, the reason you want to line this is because you can use the excess parchment paper that's on the sides as a sling to pull it out once it's cool. And it's going to make it so much easier to get out of the pan. Otherwise, you are going to destroy your beautiful topping by having to turn it upside down and then re-invert it. You're going to destroy your beautiful topping. You don't want to do that. You will see the topping in just a minute. So you really want that parchment paper, or like I said, you can do it with foil. I think it does better with parchment. Most of the time when I'm baking, I prefer parchment to foil any day. I would much rather have the parchment. I think you get a much better baking quality on your baked goods with this. Now, you want to smooth it out real good to all the edges. Now we are going to take a half a cup of sliced almonds. See, just a half a cup of sliced almonds, and we are going to sprinkle those all over the top. I've been making this for years. I've been making this before we were ever Art of Creation Homestead, before Art of Creation Homestead was ever existed. When we still lived in an apartment. For those of you who don't know, we lived in an apartment. We lived in a townhouse apartment for 11 and a half years before we bought this house. And we grew so much food on that patio, in pots, in file crates. Any way we could possibly grow food, we were growing food. We had that whole back porch covered in pots and file crates and you name it, growing food however we could grow it. By the way, that was before we knew about green stalk. If we knew about green stalk then, that whole back porch would have been covered in green stalks and we would have been growing even more food. Now, to continue the beautiful topping, we are going to sprinkle the top with a tablespoon and a half of sugar. It adds a nice little sugary crust to the top. I wouldn't go overboard. I've seen some recipes for Skillet Almond Shortbread that uses 2 full tablespoons of sugar on the top. I think it's a little much. I go with about a tablespoon and a half. You could go with as little as a tablespoon. And as you can see, you've got this beautiful crust. You've got this beautiful topping. You don't want to mess that up by having to turn it upside down because your topping is just going to fall off. You want to take your hand now. You want to pat some of those almonds in to force them to bake down in. Now some of them are going to fall off when you're eating them. It's fine. But this will help them to set a little better. Now we are going to pop this in to our 350-degree oven until it's nice, until it's just slightly golden brown around the edges. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, this deliciousness is out of the oven. It baked for between 30 and 35 minutes. To be oddly specific, it baked for about 32 minutes. And as you can see, it's nice and golden brown just around the edges. And it's still pretty blonde in the middle. As you can see, it's a little puffed up in the middle. But when you push on it, it still feels like it's not fully done. You want that because you got to remember, you are letting this cool about 3/4 of the way cool, about half to 3/4 of the way cool in cast iron. Cast iron holds its heat forever. So it is going to continue to cook. If you let it bake till the middle feels completely firm, it's going to be overbaked and you're not going to have the texture that you want with this because you want a beautiful, beautiful texture. Just a melt in your mouth type texture with this. You're not going to get that if you overbake it. So do not overbake it. I will tell you a little trick that I do. When I put it in the oven, I put it on the rack that is second from the bottom level. And then I let it bake for about 15 minutes on that rack. Then I move it to the rack that is second from the top level and let it finish there. That way it doesn't get too brown and too hard on the bottom. That way your texture is perfect and your brownness is perfect. When this is cool, when this is probably about half to 3/4 of the way cool, you can use this and lift it out of your pan and let it finish cooling till it's completely cool. You don't want to eat it till it's completely cool. And then you can go ahead and slice it into wedges like you would a pie. And I know Jason will be so thrilled to eat this. He's going to be very surprised when he comes home. He did not know that I was making this. But it's one of his favorites. He absolutely adores it. I can't wait for you guys to see him taste it and see just how much he loves it.
All right, here we go. This beautiful slice of what I'm sure is delicious. It's always been so delicious. Not super sweet at all. Just got a really nice flavor of like almond extract and the shortbread itself, almonds, a little bit of sugar on top. It's just a beautiful flavor together. And personally, we don't drink pop anymore. But I used to love to drink a cherry 7-Up with that. Or a ginger ale. You know, we'll still drink a ginger ale once in a while. But like, we used to drink ginger ale, or I used to like to drink ginger ale or a cherry 7-Up with that. I don't know what it is, but it was delicious. It was wonderful. But I might drink a ginger ale. We have ginger ale in the fridge. But other than that, we don't have anything else like that. But it's just tasty. Just such a tasty, not super sweet dessert. It's awesome, fantastic, it's unique. You'll love it. And there's not a whole lot of it. It's not real heavy. It's perfect, honestly. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That's Smart One. Her name's Angela Kay. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.